Hello students, welcome to Gyanvyar School of Education, Suresh Gyanvyar University. I'm Dr. Sonia Kaur Bansal and today's my topic is about globalization and education. And the subject is contemporary India and education. So students, today's learning objective of my class is about how you are going to understand about the concept and globalization of education. What is globalization, what is the different aspect of globalization, and the status and role of globalization, problems, issues of globalization that we face. So all these things will be discussed in detail during the lecture. So I hope all of you will be studying very attentively. So let's start the topic. Now, first of all, we are going to the term globalization. What is globalization? Or it's in Hindi, Vaishvikaran. All right, students. So, globalization used to describe the growing integration of economics worldwide through increase in trade, investment flows, and technology transfer. So when we are talking about globalization, so earlier it was used to believe that it is in the field of trade and commerce only. It means that if we are doing one business, then it can be expanded around the world, or other countries can also come to our country. That is the actually concept of globalization, which general people can understand. But what globalization is all about? Is it only about the trade and business only? So we have to understand it in detail. So it describes interplay across cultures of macro social forces. So globalization is not only about trade and commerce; it is also about interplaying of across cultures. Another, we are adapting another culture and other people are adapting our culture. And macro social forces, what the minute social elements are working in our society, that is working on a global platform also. So these forces include like religion, politics, and economics. So when we are talking about Indian religions, culture, politics, and economics, you can have you can just have a look of its impact on around the globe. So globalization can erode and universalize the characteristics of a local group. So it means that it is all around everywhere. Now, characteristics of globalization that can be linked to education. First, it is in educational terms. So, we have to be very much clear with other terms also. So, in educational terms, we are actually including the globalization, the process of educating the people around the world in the methods and techniques that we are applying. And then in economic terms, it is the increasing economic interdependence of national economies across the world through a rapid increase in cross-border movement of goods, services, technology, and capital. So it is somehow students just understand that economic interdependence is actually leading to more growth and development of countries, those who are involved in doing that particular business. So globalization is actually motivating you to just increase the boundaries and just don't be within the boundaries, just cross the boundaries and share your experiences, your good values, your services, your technologies, your capital with another countries also. Then let's have a look on about globalization in political terms, which is very much enhanced nowadays also. Under globalization, politics can take place above the state through political integration schemes such as the European Union and through intergovernmental organizations such as the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and the World Trade Organization. So these are all the agencies which are an organization which are working on a global platform. And politics can take place above the state through political integration schemes, and these schemes are actually introduced by these agencies which are actually worldwide very famous and very much recognized. So political activity can also transcend national borders through global movements and NGOs. So we can see very much with the clear vision that nowadays political terms globalization is also famous. If we see the China and India context, if we see the America and India context and Pakistan and India context, so we can find so many things that are working on global platform. If something is happening in India, it is affecting all over the world, and if something is happening in America, it is also affecting all over the world. So this is how politically, if we are actually connected, so the civil society organizations act globally by forming alliances with organizations in other countries, using global communications systems and lobbying international organization and other actors directly instead of working through the national government. So this is how the political terms is being defined in the terms of globalization. Now let's see students about cultural terms, which is also very important aspect of globalization. So in cultural terms, when we have to see the globalization, it is referring to the transmission of ideas, of meaning and values across national borders. We all are very much familiar with this fact that India is a country of varieties, diversities. So this is how it is working. It is in, if affecting other people also. We are able to transmit the ideas, meanings and values across national borders, and in the same way the other people's ideas are also accepted by us. So this process is marked by the spread of commodities and ideologies which become standardized around the world. So mass consumption serves as a facilitator between different people and culture around the globe as a result of the exponential growth of human population. So culture is something which is very, very actually important when we are talking about globalization. It is in the terms of very, because if we see to our own Indian culture, we have a very rich culture with us. We have so many religion and we have so many good values, characteristics from ancient, medieval, model culture. And these are the things which are actually spreading up high from in the world, and it is actually connecting the whole world to with us. So this is how in cultural terms globalization is very important. So understand its point of view in that way. Now students, we are going to discuss about aspects of globalization, in what way we see the globalization or how we assume the whole world on a one platform. How can we do this? So there are three major aspects which is seen on your screen: business, technology and culture. So these are the three major areas where we can see the aspects of globalization, or we can describe by what means we can see the globalization. So first of all, let's discuss about this. So aspects of globalization, first point is related to industrial globalization, transnationalization. And what is that? It refers to the rise and expansion of multinational and transnational enterprises. So transnational enterprises, that is going beyond the national. So it is rising and expansion of that business or that multinational companies and all over the world. Then secondly, financial globalization refers to the emergence of worldwide financial markets and better access to external financing for corporate, national and subnational borrowers. So this is how globalization is working in a fantastic way when it is coming to the financial globalization also. So markets are huge. It is not only limited to our own nation's boundaries. It's a huge thing. So better access to external financing for corporate, national and subnational borrowers. So we can, the trading and business can be done from anywhere. So this is financial globalization, that you can borrow or you can cooperate with any, or you can lend with any country. Then third important point is about political globalization, and it refers to the spread of political sphere of interest to the regions and countries outside the neighborhood of political actors and the potential information of global citizen movements. So this is how it is working in a political sphere, because interest of the particular countries and neighborhood, when they are mixed up on the same platform about another countries, about another policies, about the about any particular situation. We can quote about pandemic situation also. Many countries are having same thought about the corona situation or pandemic situation which is spreading up. So this is how it is working up. Then information globalization refers to the increase in information flows between geographically remote locations. So cultural globalization refers to the growth of cross-cultural contacts. Globalism refers to the universal internationalist impulse that the world is connected. So this is how political globalization is working, information globalization is working. All over you are just full of, studded with information. Once anything is happening at one place of world, you cannot just keep yourself aloof from that, or you cannot just say that I'm not going to shut my eyes and I'm just becoming unaware of it. So this is how information globalization is allowing you to cross the geographical boundaries of the information and just pass on the information to the maximum people, no matter from which country, from which religion, which area. So this is how information globalization is working highly nowadays. But then cultural globalization refers to the growth of cross-cultural contacts. So it is how nowadays, like we see, earlier there was not such a concept of intercaste marriages and all that, but nowadays it is actually considered very common or very in type of fashion in cultural globalization. So two cultures are mixing up with each other and getting their suitable values and beliefs with them, customs, traditions, and they're following that also. And they somehow, people are those who find difficulties in following their own culture, they are actually shifting to other culture, or they are assimilating those good things into their own culture. So it is somehow very nice in broader perspective. So this is about cultural globalization. Then globalism refers to the universal internationalist impulse that the world is connected. Nowadays, we actually can be sure that anything if is happening in any corner of the world, we are connected. We will get the news as soon as it is possible. We will be becoming aware, and the higher authorities of our own nation or the another country, they will be taking suitable actions, or they will be reacting in certain way. So this is how globalism, referring to the universal internationalist impulse that the world is connected. Now students, let's see implication of global information society in the education system. Now, global information society is something that is providing the information around the world within no time. And it is demanding for widening the education access to for all. It means that education must be for all. And when we are actually discussing the implication of global information society in the education system, so definitely we would be demanding a system or a platform where the education is equivalent available for everyone. So continuous lifelong learning is motivated, and then global versus local cultural development is also considered on high note. Then creation of new educational network organization is also considered, changing the educational management from hierarchical institution to equal distributions of network organization, from commanding to negotiating. Then there is demand for more flexible and general skills. So when there is flexibility of any type of skill, which is easily understandable by the people, so we can say that it is actually more and more easily accessible to maximum number of people. So this is how in education system globalization is working on high note. Now students, let's understand what are the core values and competencies for global education. Now, definitely core skills are there. Core values, the centered values, skills we are discussing about. So, it is something that we are not actually can escape of it. So, core skills and competencies which are really very important, they are as follows. So, first of all, peace and non-violence. Yes, this is a core skill and competency that all over the world must be inculcated in all the human beings, and this work can be done through global education only. The global education, by that I mean the same method or same thought behind that, whatever you are going to deliver to your student. So this is how it is working. Now next is peace and violence is actually something that is very very important for to create harmony among the human beings. Then social justice. Social justice is giving to those people who are actually below poverty or something that they are deprived of, and other people are helping them to come up or come up with their own ideas or come up with their own financial status. So this is how social justice is also important core skill and competencies. Then human rights, economic well-being and equity, cultural integrity, ecological balance is must for everyone. So democratic participation in the system is also very important core skill and competencies. So this is how all over the world it is affecting everyone. Then self-worth, self-affirmation is also important. The affirmation on others, cultural and racial differences, critical thinking, effective communication skills, non-violent conflict resolution and meditation, imagination, effective organizing, all these things are actually considered the significant core skills and competencies which must be enhanced by all the countries, all the human beings, and that can be possible through global education system only. So these are the core values, students, that you must inculcate in your future students also, because all of you are right now you are prospective teachers, but when you will be teachers, so these are few important core skills that you must take in care. Now students, let's understand about socio-cultural, economic and political issues on globalization. Definitely, there are some globally considered issues which are prevailing everywhere, not only in our own country, but it's a problem everywhere. Now, the pandemic situation, everybody is dealing on the same platform. Everybody is facing the problem with their education system, their socio-cultural system, their economic system, and as well political issues also. So how it is working on a global platform and how it is affecting each other. You can see how the globalization is on my screen. Then you can see some of the pictures given here, like first jobless, ruthless growth, then futureless growth, this is meaningless growth, and then rootless growth, or something voiceless growth. So this is something actually effective unsustainable development, and this is something affecting the whole world altogether. All right students, so understand it in a detailed manner. Let's have a look. Now, first of all, we are going to discuss about socio-cultural issues. So, what are the socio-cultural issues? Let's understand it. Socio-cultural issues actually include massive migration, managing differences, global changes in culture. And what they are? Massive migration means these are the changing the ways we experience national identities and cultural belongings. People are shifting from one place to another. So the migration is in large number. The brain's drain is the main problem all around the world. So managing difference is another aspect of socio-cultural issues, and this is how it is actually working on managing the difference. It is becoming one of the greatest challenge to multicultural countries also, where the different cultures are actually working all together and they are happy with each other, but they have some sort of differences also. So managing all those differences on the socio-cultural issues level, it is very important for any country or any political party as well. So global changes in culture also come deeply affect educational policies, practices, and institutions. Definitely, students, if we are talking about socio-cultural issues, so how they are affecting the culture and so social status of the people. We had mainly discussed that thing in this point. Then let's discuss about economic issues, and economic issues are related to the worldwide inequality. This is a major issue, students, that is all over the global point of view, found everywhere. Then consistency and quality of educational experiences remain patchy. Actually, it must be very transparent and clear, but somehow it is not possible through because of some unwanted reasons. Then secondary education in developing countries remains quite weak. So how it is going to be built up? So a country is developed or developing, it matters a lot in when country is being judged on the global platform. New technologies of globalization is also playing a very good or significant role in economic issues of globalization. Now, students, let's have a look on political issues also. Political issues are related to constraint on national and state policy. When we have to follow our own government policies, and which is actually somehow being followed since ages, and there are no changes in that. Economic coordination and exchange is being considered in that. Global conflict is also considered. Crime, terrorism, environmental issues, everything is actually considered on a very high note. Now, students, let's see conflict and consensus perspective on the role of education in understanding globalization. So how it is working, let's understand. Now, forces of globalization. What is actually creating globalization? So there are three important factors which you must consider very significantly. First is taxing youth. Yes, taxing youth. Youth is the strength of any country, and when the youth is being taxed, so they are actually feeling themselves a part and parcel of their own nation, own world, or their own earth. Then families play an important role as a globalization, because if the families are rigid and orthodox, very traditional, if they are not allowing their kids to grow in a global perspectives, then it becomes little difficult in the process of globalization. But on the contraries, if the families are very broad minded, and if they are actually supporting their children or young generations to come up with their ideas, maybe it is of their business ideas or any religion thoughts or anything, so the families are playing wonderful role, or they are becoming a good force of globalization. Then education system. Of course, any country's education system plays a very important role in the globalization process. So, if the education system is like that, we are assimilating the culture, religion, thoughts, ideas, feelings of other countries also. and what do they think, and how do they apply their knowledge in any part of the life or any aspect of the particular field. So this is affecting other countries also. An education system must be very very strong. It should be on a on focused on facts giving and real practical skill based knowledge among the students. Now, experience of youth will be linked to economic realities, social processes, and technological and media innovations, cultural flows as well. So, this is how youth will be linking to economic realities. Then they will be reacting in a more real ways, how they should grow and how should be their own growth and how should be their country's growth. Then social processes, there are many things which must be abandoned right now, but when it is not actually being explained in proper direction to the youth, that why the particular thing is good for them and why the particular thing is bad for them, then in that case the social process affects everyone. Then technological and media innovation is the basic thing that is actually we cannot ignore its importance nowadays also. So technology and media innovations is actually linking up youth on a very good platform, and if the youth is trying to do something, then technology plays a master role in that. Then cultural flows, how the things are being carried by the youth in a certain way that they are feeling it very good for themselves. Now, students, let's understand about the role of education. Yes, we do understand that role of education is very important in the process of globalization. When we are talking about globalization, so role of education can be considered in a very good way. So just understand, students, that role of education is something that you cannot escape or you cannot actually deprive of it. So education system must be like that, that it will need both rethinking and restructuring. How it should be rethinking and restructuring if schooling is to best prepare the children and the youth of the world to engage globalization's new challenges, opportunities, and cost. So education will need both. One thing is clear: rethinking and restructuring. We cannot follow those traditional, orthodox, or any irrelevant thing which is not relevant, which is not important in present scenario. So education must be given in that way that it should always be given a good thought. So when we are giving a good thought, so it is best for the young generation as well as for teacher community also to restructure the system and bring out the best changes on global perspectives. For example, we can see that in pandemic situation everybody was very much worried. Here everybody means that all the nations worldwide, they were very much worried about education of their young children, because all over the world schools, colleges were forced to shut down, and now what about their education system? So there had been a very good exercise on just bringing up the online education with the help of technology. So the youth of the world to engage globalization's new challenges, opportunities, and cost also. So with the help of online education, this concept is now everywhere, and people are just trying to educate their children through online mode also. So this is how one idea is working with another part of the globe also. So this is creating new challenges also, opportunities also, and new cost also. So education should shape the cognitive skills, interpersonal sensibilities, and cultural sophistication of children and youth, whose lives will be both engaged in local context and responsive to larger transactional process, it is very, very important. So understand students in a simple way that if we are educating our young students for cognitive, affective, and psychomotor skills, so we must remember that they are not only getting education for their own purpose only, but for global purpose also. So how they should create interpersonal sensibilities and cultural sophistication. They should be actually very much sensitized towards other culture also. There must not be any rigidity or a type of very hardship for his or her own culture, but no feeling for other culture. So this type of education must be given to the young generation, because they are the only one whose lives will be both engaged in local context in their own culture also, and responsive to large transnational process also, because they will be helping in transnational process. So this is how the role of education is very, very significant. Now students, let's have a look on impact of globalization on education. How the globalization is actually impacting the education, how it is affecting the education. So let's have a look as a challenge and an opportunity in the field of globalization. So globalization and its impact on education can be discussed in following 2 points, like needed reforms with the educational system. The fallout of globalization. See how it is working. I have told you just now. If we are actually developing cognitive, affective, and psychomotor skills among our students, then we definitely need some reforms among our youngsters so that they can stand themselves on the global perspectives. So this is how our educational system is working. But somewhere if it is lacking, then impact on education will be like that. It is demanding from education. So if you are giving irrelevant knowledge to today's child, then it will not be fruitful. Okay, students. So the fallout of globalization must not be there, because the impact on education is something like that. You must involve another culture's good ideas in political, economical, religious concepts also. We have discussed many terms related to that. Now, what are these needed reforms in education, which I have just discussed with you? So let's have a look on them. First of all, content of education, why it is to be reformed. So let's discuss it. First of all, curriculum upgradation. So the modern advances in the information technology have revolutionized, among others, the content of knowledge and the process of educational transaction. There must be curriculum based on technologies, based on social demands, based on religious, or based on globalization demand. Then productivity orientation. The basic objective of globalization is to enhance the productivity and to make the educational system an instrument in preparing students who can compete in the world market as productive members of the society. So this thing must be taken in care, that while the content of education is being decided, it must be like that. It should not actually hinder the main target of giving education. So it is like that. It is creating productivity in content. So content must be like that. It should give an instrument for like preparing students to compete in the whole world markets. They are not only standing in our own country with so much confidence when they have studied that content, they are actually also preparing themselves for the global point of view. All right, so this was the first reformation that we have discussed, content of education. Now next is the fallout of globalization. How the fallout of globalization we have discussed earlier. So internationalization of education. This has become a worldwide phenomenon because of the entry World Trade Organization WTO, World Trade Organization, and the inclusion of educational services under the General Agreement on Trade and Services. That is GATS, GATS. So understand it again, once again, students. This has become a worldwide phenomenon because of the entry World Trade Organization and the inclusion of general educational services under the General Agreement on Trade and Services, which has given a boost to the internationalization of higher education. So there should not be fallout. So fallout of globalization must be taken in very important point of view. Then finance related issues must be here in order to be a part of global configuration. The requirement of funds for social services, including education, will increase manyfold. Then privatization of secondary and higher education as a corollary to the suggestions about reducing public investment in secondary or higher education. A plea has been made to hand over those sectors in a private thing. So these are the point must be taken in care. Now students, let's understand the impact on education, how it is affecting the education. It will mean a more competitive and deregulative education system with more pressure on it to assure that the next generation of workers are prepared for some amorphous jobs market of 21st century. So education or educational system will increasingly provide the sites of struggle over the meaning and power of national identity and the national culture. So this is how it is working. Now let's have a look on some MCQs, students, that I have prepared for you. So let's understand them one by one. What is the amalgamation of and rapid unification between countries identified as globalization, liberalization, socialization, privatization? Yes, the correct answer is globalization, and it is the amalgamation on rapid unification between countries. It is actually motivating the countries to be one within them. Now, next question is related to globalization has improved the living structure of which of the following? So, first, all of the people living in developing countries, people living in developed countries, none of the above. So, the correct answer is related to people living in developing countries. So, globalization has improved the living structure of people living in developing countries because they are affecting each other on a very high note. Now, question 3 is related to which Indian industries have been hit by globalization. So, cement, jute, toy making, or information technology or IT. So, answer is C. Toy making Indian industries have been hit by globalization. The toys which are built in another countries, Indians are using them, and those toys which are being made in Indian factories, they are also being used by globally all the countries. Then question 4, which of these organizations emphasizes on the liberalization of foreign investment and foreign trade? International Monetary Fund, World Health Organization, World Trade Organization, International Labour Organization. We have just studied about it. So correct answer is World Trade Organization because it emphasizes on the liberalization of foreign investment and foreign trade in any country. Now question 5, students, tax on imports is considered as an example of collateral, trade barriers, foreign trade, terms of trade. So the correct answer is trade barriers. So this is actually considered an example of trade barriers that tax on imports. Next question. Which of the following is the main reason behind the investments of MNCs? To benefit foreign countries, to provide financial support to the country's government, for the welfare of underprivileged people, to increase the assets and earn profits. So the correct answer is to increase the assets and earn profits also. So students, these were the questions that we have discussed just now, and these are some references for your more study purpose. I hope you will go with through them and study more appropriately about globalization. So students, in today's class, we have discussed about many aspects of globalization. We have discussed what is globalization and how it is working, and what is actually globalization as it was used to describe the growing integration of economics only worldwide through increasing the trade and business, or maybe investments flows, or maybe we are sharing technologies transfer. So this is considered globalization. And but when we are talking about globalization in educational point of view, so globalization is actually carrying over all the good values belief of one particular education system into their own country. So globalization is actually describing the interplay across culture of macro social forces, and these forces, I have told you that these forces are related to religion, political, and economics. So globalization can erode and universalize the characteristics of a local group. So this is how everything is working in that way, that globalization is working. So students, understand that globalization is not only a concept, but it is not only a concept that is kept in mind, but it is a concept that is lived with full-heartedly. And when we are considering that globalization is not only considered in economic, political, or religion terms, but it can be considered in educational terms also. When we discuss the economic terms, we were discussing that it is the increasing economic interdependence of national economies across the world through a rapid increase in cross-border increase or cross-border movement also of goods, services, technologies, and capitals. Then we discussed about political terms also, and in that we saw that under globalization, politics can take place above the state through many political integration schemes as the European Union, and through intergovernmental organization also, which are working on global platform, and such as the International Monetary Fund, IMF, or World Bank, or World Trade Organization. So these are all the intergovernmental organization which are working with integrity in political terms. So political activity can also transcend national borders through global movements and NGOs. So civil society organization act globally by forming alliances, and then how it is communicating or lobbying internationally organization and other actors directly instead of working through their national governments also. So this is how it is working. Then if we see, we have also seen the globalization in the terms of cultural perspectives. So it referred to transmission of ideas, meanings, and values across national borders. So just understand students in that way that it is very, very significant when we talk globalization in from the point of view of educational terms, economic terms, or political terms, and then cultural terms. So this process of globalization, when we are especially talking about cultural terms, is marked by the spread of commodities and ideologies also. So whatever the ideologies we are having in our own country may affect the other people also, or maybe globally also. so which becomes standardized around the world. Okay, this type of thinking, this type of thought process is very nice, and it is very beneficial for particular kind of students, or maybe for any human being. So mass consumption serves as a facilitator between different people and cultures around the globe as a result of the exponential growth of human population. So we had discussed about many aspects of globalization, such as business, technology, culture, and we had seen aspects of globalization in terms of industrial globalization, financial globalization, political globalization, information globalization, cultural globalization, globalism. We had discussed all these things. Then we had seen about implications of global information society in the education system, how it is affecting the education system also. So we have discussed that all in very detail. Then we also discuss about some core values of students, about competencies for global education, which were very important, like peace and non-violence, social justice, human rights. They are all very important. Then we had also seen about socio-culture, economic and political issues on globalization, how it is working in effectively in a positive or negative manner in the process of globalization. So socio-cultural issues were dealing with massive migration, managing differences, global changes in culture, and then it was also related to economic issues with and the main problem was to deal with worldwide inequality among the human beings. So it was how it was being dealt. Then political issues, we have seen constant on national and state policies, and crime, terrorism, all were some different kind of or the maybe the common kind of political issues the all the countries are dealing with. Then we had seen conflict and consensus perspectives on the role of education in understanding the globalization and how it was affecting. So then we have seen role of education was very, very significant in that process. So this is how we have discussed globalization in today's class, and I hope students that you have really understood well, and you will understand this concept of globalization for your for enhancing your vision towards the concept of globalization. And being the prospective teachers, you will be able to understand more about it. Okay, students, so see you in the next class. Till then, stay safe and just take care of yourself.